Hey, it is Zennial Gamer back with another video and still without a green screen, but it is coming, I promise you guys. Today we're going to be talking about Solo War 5. Now this is not going to be a complete guide video, I may do something like that later. For today what we're actually going to be talking about is a little bit of AI manipulation and understanding the theorycraft behind building teams that can work for you based on your box, based on the runes and the monsters that you have available that you can build. Now, you're probably looking at my team thinking, well, I can't spare a Bastet, I can't spare a Rika, and that's okay, because again, we're talking about theorycraft. So I did just start doing some of my testing tonight. I found that there's a monster combination that I like a little bit more than Freya, at least for this team that I've got over here, which is where I was running the Freya, which is the Fran and the Vidor. Now, this is what today's video is really all about. It's about talking about AI manipulation. So for those of you who built your BGR5 teams from a guide but never specifically followed through the steps as to why it all works, please bear with me for just a minute while I give you the basic theorycraft on it. I'll make this quick, but it's really important to know what triggers the perfect AI in this team, because that's what you're going to need to use as you're building your other teams. So in a normal BJR5 team, what's going to happen is all of the monsters are built below a certain speed, which allows the boss to act first. That way the boss is always going to act first, and that speed is 191 combat speed, so that's speed after speed towers and all that. So the fastest monster on your team should actually be no more than about 175 speed, which will ensure that the boss goes first. When the boss goes, he's going to attack and kill your Dagora. Now your Dagora has 2 sets of fight runes, 1 set of will runes, and the reason for that is because of this passive right here. We can't risk him getting Oblivion, we need him to resurrect. But why? Why do we actually need him to resurrect? Well, the reason for that has to do with AI. So Colleen and all healers who also buff on their heal have a caveat, whatever you want to call it, in the code, where if there is an ally on their team that have 30% or less health, they will go with their heal. So when the Dagora revives at 30%, it forces Colleen's perfect AI, at which point she will always go with her skill 3, so she will always attack buff the team. From there, the Lauren is going to go, and she defense breaks on all of her skills, so although that's not perfect AI, it's basically perfect AI because all 3 skills do the same thing. And then from there, the Bale will go because he does have perfect AI, and that at full stacks, and at 4 stacks also, I believe, he will always use his Start of Apocalypse. So, for those of you who have been playing for a while and whoever built the old BSR5 teams, you'll remember that we used to use Vidor in that team as well. Vidor has the same passive as Dagora, and that is the Return of Fighter, but basically he revives at 30%. So we're able to emulate that exact same thing over here by using Vidor and Fran as we are over here by using Colleen and Dagora. That gives us perfect AI for the attack buff on 2 of our teams. Now, around the Vidor and the Fran, I suggest that you do a fully runed Wa. You could also do a fully runed Kali, but I like the Wa more because Kali will sometimes just attack buff on her own, and we obviously need to have those leader skills in there. Now, if you are struggling with coming up with the effective HP that you need to survive and you have enough damage maybe, then you could also look at using a defense lead. So for example, I worked with somebody on a team where I went ahead and used 33 defense lead for them as opposed to using, I think it was the 40% attack lead. So we used both the crit rate leads and then we used a defense lead instead of the attack lead, and that totally solidified their team. So don't feel like you must always use attack and crit rate leads. Defense and HP leads, but especially defense leads, also can work to help solidify your team. But what the Hua gives us here is some attack bar pushback, which is going to give us some better turn cycling. Now I built my Hua just a little bit tankier, so just in case I miss the pushback, and you see the 45 crit rate here, because I've got 57% in crit rate leader skills, that's all I need. So that allowed me to build her with that extra defense for the front line, little bit of extra HP as well, and still get pretty good attack and crit damage. Now, remember also for R5, they don't need accuracy. There's just the way the runes broke out, but you literally do not need any accuracy at all for R5. The boss only has 15 resistance. You can't ever bring him below 15 resistance, so all your monsters can be 0 accuracy. It's not a problem. Now, whatever monster you put in the front line with your Fran, just make sure it can tank. Now, I'm going to show you my Fran's runes, but I will tell you guys, because I just found this, just figured out the Vidor thing earlier tonight, I haven't actually rebuilt my Fran yet. I'm probably going to build a 4th Fran, because I do use my other 3 regularly. So right here, you can see my Fran is in Shield Will, not Violent. This is very important. None of your R5 monsters should be in Violent runes. And again, this goes back to understanding the AI. So ultimately, what we're building is 2 additional teams that must synchronize with our BJR5 team. So if you think about how your BJR5 team works, the boss goes, it kills the Dagora revives. That takes about a turn's worth of time for the Dagora to actually die and revive because it's a slow animation. From there, the Colleen's going to attack buff, the Lauren's going to defense break, the Bale's going to blow his load, and then if you have speed tuned your Dagora properly to act ahead of your Jansen and behind your Bale, you see my Jansen's 126, my Dagora is 127, and my Bale is 129. So your Dagora will then take 1 additional turn. By the time your Dagora goes, the boss must reach the jump or the BJR5 team will derp. Because the rest of this team, the way it works is that your Jansen's going to resurrect everybody, and when he resurrects them, he's going to push their attack bars up by 90%. That means he's going to push the Lauren and the Bale attack bars up. But the problem with that is that your Colleen, the reason that we build our Colleen to be at 25k effective HP is so that she dies on the jump. The Colleen is the 3rd monster your Jansen is resurrecting, which is what gives everybody 90% attack bar instead of 60. But just as importantly, if the Colleen hasn't died yet, then the Colleen's going to gain more attack bar than the rest of your team. The rest of your team gains less attack bar. It screws up the turn orders, and that team is basically going to derp, and this is the team we're counting on to be perfect AI all the way through. So these 2 teams must synchronize with this team, which means these 2 teams must do enough damage combined with this team that the boss will jump before the Jansen acts. So we've got our perfect AI and lots of damage over here. For our middle team, we only can create perfect AI. I've been looking through the monster box. As near as I can figure, the only way we can create perfect AI in a team that's going to have enough damage will require a Nat 5, which is Samanth, or Pisama, however you want to pronounce it. So Vanessa is another possibility here because Vanessa will revive off the passive. The problem is that Vanessa's then also going to have to take a turn, and she has absolute crap multipliers. Now, I was originally talking about the Fran, I kind of got sidetracked here, but I was talking about the Fran and the importance of not putting her or anybody else in Violent. And the reason for that is going back to what I said about the BGR5 team. It's that if you have monsters that start proccing at the wrong times, they take up more turns. So imagine if your Fran was in Violent and then she derped 3 times and just went with her skill 1 3 times. What would ultimately happen is that you wouldn't do enough damage to kill the boss or to make the boss jump before the Jansen did his resurrect, and it would cause a fail. So it's going to be better if all of your monsters are in some combination of Rage, Fatal, Fight, Shield. You do not ever want to put a PvE monster in Nemesis because that screws up your turn orders. And then you don't want to put any of these monsters on Violent. So this is a great opportunity to use all of those crappy Endure runes, all of those crappy energy and guard runes that you never thought you'd have a use for anywhere. You could use lots of triple 2 sets here, get some extra HP and defense on your monsters. I do recommend building all monsters in this team to at least 95k effective HP. Whichever monsters are in your front line, try and get them to 25k HP and 1500 defense. Now, we're going to take a look at how this perfect AI team runs. So right here, the boss does go first now. The Vidor dies. That triggers the Fran's perfect AI. She gives us the attack buff. And now you can see we're already getting much bigger damage out of this team. Obviously, the Brondia hitting for 100k is very helpful there. But again, if you don't have Brondia, there are lots of monsters that scale to enemy debuffs. Most of them are very accessible. So Argon is the 4-star Wind Vampire. Obviously doesn't hit as hard as Brondia, but he hits plenty hard enough for this. Zhao Ling, the Water Kung Fu Girl, doesn't hit as hard, but hits plenty hard enough. So there are a lot of alternatives if you don't have the premium Nat 5s. Naomi, as you see, I'm using Naomi, and my Naomi is unskilled, so skilled up Naomi is even better for this. And you'll see that we're doing consistently in the 32 to 38 second range, even though I haven't started optimizing the team yet. If you're still watching to this point of the video, because of the move, because I haven't posted as many videos lately, the channel was really hurting the YouTube algorithm. So if you wouldn't mind smashing that subscribe button, hitting the like button, and dropping a comment for the algorithm, would help me out a lot. It would definitely motivate me to keep creating content and videos like this. Anyway, guys, on that note, that's going to be it for today's video. As always, I appreciate you watching. I hope you found the video helpful, and we'll see you next time. Hey, it is Zennial. Oh, no, wait, this is the outro. My bad. Hey guys, if you want to see more content, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notifications. It's your support that makes me want to create continuing content. I thank you guys for the support, as always, and we'll see you in the next video.